Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for tonight's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are preparing to get underway here at Eagle Rock. The 1 mile fictional oval in this game will have a small field for what will be a big race, 250 miles. So this race is going to be the same length as the race they ran at Indy earlier this year. Of note, in the championship, the point standings were not properly updated, of course, but Scored Buffalo should be leading by 21 points over Maybe Racing, and third place would be a tie between Prius Killer and NFL Racer. During qualifying, Scored Buffalo was deemed to have an improper setup on the car. His qualifying time was disallowed. He was pushed back to a 10th place starting spot, so he'll be starting last, while Maybe Racing has earned another point. So the gap between Maybe and Scored as the green flag falls will be 20 points. That is the difference between first and fifth. So if Scored Buffalo can finish fifth and Maybe Racing wins tonight's race, the two of them will still be tied on points leaving tonight, but Scored would have the tiebreaker by virtue of having 3 wins versus, in that scenario, Maybe's hypothetical single win. Last season, this race was 175 laps, and Maybe Racing put the entire field with no exceptions a lap down. Everybody went a lap down. This race this year is going to be 75 laps longer, meaning that there is a legitimate possibility that our race winner could put everybody 2 laps down. Other changes of note, comparing last season to this season here, last season there wasn't any tire wear multiplier, and the stints went quite a ways. I believe there were only 4 pit stops, and most of that was just because of a string of yellows early in the event and then a yellow late. But this race, we are looking at a 5-stop race. If it goes green flag to flag, there is a tire wear multiplier, and the hard compound tire is anticipated to only last about 40 racing laps in tonight's event. So with that in mind, this will be this is anticipated to be at minimum a 5-stop race, potentially 6 stops if we get some yellows at inopportune times. The Indycar record at Milwaukee, which I believe, and I would argue, is the closest comparison in a track compared to this. The IndyCar record for fastest 250-mile race at a 1-mile circuit is 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 45 seconds. That was in 2014 at Milwaukee. Now, maybe there was a race that was at a 1-mile track that was 250 miles that I am not aware of, but that was the one that I looked up and noticed. So I will be interested to see if we can complete this race in a time comparable to a real-life IndyCar race, if not sooner. I'm kind of selfishly hoping we do, because I do have work in the morning. As is, I'm going to be here until almost 9 tonight. So I'm not really looking forward to this for how late I'm going to be up, but maybe we'll have an interesting event. Again, championship fight, Scored leads by what will be 20 points when the green flag flies over Maybe, and we believe that NFL and Prius Killer are tied for third in points, although neither of them are close enough to make any kind of run at the championship here. And after tonight's race, there will only be 4 more races left in the season as well. Alright, field rolling. Again, 250 laps, technically 251 because of this pace lap. Your pole sitter is Maybe Racing in the Red Line Oil Corridor, followed by the National Guard, number 76. After that, Amish with his best qualifying attempt in the entirety of FEC Indycar. He'll be starting third. Fourth will be GRPK Golden. Fifth will be his teammate, 2 Fuzzball. The two of them running alternate paint schemes. Behind them is NFL Racer. He is going to be starting in the 6th position. 7th is Neesmorph. 8th is going to be Big Block. 9th will go to Keen Racing Leo. And Scored Buffalo is going to route the field in 10th. But our focus is going to be on Maybe and Prius as they come down to the start line, as we are going to begin what will be a real doozy of a race, or possibly the longest race in FEC IndyCar history. Green flag in the air, And we are underway. Maybe had a fantastic jump, and immediately Prius is under pressure from Amish on the inside. Amish trying to hold it side by side, can't do it. In fact, he ends up washing wide, pushing GRPK Golden up into the wall, bouncing off the wall farther back there, but Golden will maintain third, and now Amish falls back to fourth as he is trapped in the high line. Fuzzball now goes by, Neesmorph closing up on him. Buffalo still dead last, hasn't made any moves on the first lap right now, but Prius is in second, running onto the inside, and that is Golden! Golden just got by our leaders! Golden goes into the lead, the top two went side by side, and Golden blitzed by them both! So GRPK Golden now goes into the top spot, and maybe is now hemorrhaging positions. He has fallen down to the fourth spot behind Fuzzball and Prius now. Again, the big question is, what tires is everyone running? The easiest way to tackle this race is just throw on only the hard tires all race long. Pit every 40 laps, you'll be fine. But there is a possibility that if Golden or Fuzzball are on a softer compound tire, they might try to just run away from the rest of the field and open up a gap. Golden's already opening up a gap on Prius and Fuzzball. Prius gets by Fuzzball as Fuzzball hits the outside wall, but Prius is wide in the process. Now maybe looks to his inside. He has to back out of it. He can't make anything of it. Scored Buffalo is already 4 seconds out of the leader. Prius Killer is stabilized in second. Fuzzball is in third. Maybe has slipped back to fourth. He is still ahead of Scored in number of points that would be earned at this stage of the event. Fuzzball now closing back in on Prius again. Real quick, let's look at the tire wear on these cars. Already 13.4% wear for Fuzzball. I look at Prius, who he is fighting right now, 9.4%. So I think it's very obvious that the GRPK guys are on softer compound tires early in the race, trying to make some other strategy work here. They know they can't beat the likes of Scored or maybe running the same strat. They are trying something different. So Fuzzball has gotten back in front of Prius again. Maybe has fallen about 7/10 off of this little battle for second. And now Fuzzball already trying to hunt down his teammate Golden. Golden running in nice clean air. And one bit small positive that he may have to consider if we're going to... Kane Racing Leo has had some sort of instant. He is creeping down the back straightaway right now, and that car has heavy damage on all corners at the moment. Spin and slide into the pit lane, but he will make it in. GRPK Golden leads by about 1 second over his teammate Fuzzball. As Fuzzball's trying to hold up Prius. Matey runs back there in fourth right now. Real quickly, we look at Matey's tire wear at the moment. He is at 13%. Where Prius, who is just ahead of him, he is at 14.6% wear. So maybe is running a slower race, just trying to manage his tire wear right now, trying to guarantee that this will only be a five-stop affair. Prius now seems to have calmed down a bit. He's letting Fuzzball kind of scoot off into the distance. He'll take advantage of Fuzzball's draft in the streets, but he's not really harassing him, so the field has pretty much single-filed out right now. Scored Buffalo has only gained 1 position. He's only up to 9th. He's still behind Neesmorph, has not shown any ability to move up. He's only at 10% on his most worn tire right now, though. So Buffalo doing a great job managing his tires. Just for comparison, maybe his championship rival is at 16% wear. That's enough to make me wonder. Could Golden and Fuzzball be on soft compound tires? Could Prius and Maybe be on medium compound tires? And could Scored Buffalo be on the hard compound tires? Again, when you pit here, you lose about 1.5 laps, if not 2 laps. You can see King Racing Leo already now 3 laps down after repairing that damage that he took from an early incident. The rest of the field is still on the lead lap, though, but Neesmorph has now fallen behind Scored Buffalo. So finally, Scored trying to make moves. He is hemorrhaging a lot of time to the leaders, but Golden likely, although he has now been caught by his teammate Fuzzball, which isn't going to help, but Golden already at 28% tire wear on lap 12. He might only be able to go about 30 laps on a set of softs. But even going 30 laps on a set of softs would still be a little bit longer than the anticipation was. The anticipation was the softs might only last 20 laps. But some of these drivers may have figured that they can go a little longer on the tires than initially anticipated. If so, we might see more pit stops cut out. But Golden leads. Reminder, he led early back at Miami as well, but then had a tremendous accident that sent him into a catch fence and just never dug himself out of that hole, finished that race off for the lead lap. He looked like a championship contender early in the season, but that coupled with some other suboptimal finishes has dropped him well down the title order. But if Golden can put together a good run now, that could vault him into outside contention in the fight for third against the likes of Prius and NFL. And there is a pretty significant spread from the top 2 to back here. This is Maybe Racing, who has caught Prius now, and that is Amish Gaming running right behind them. Prius runs about a third of a lane up coming into the corners, but then really tightens it down on the exits, and Maybe is doing pretty much the opposite, so slightly alternate lines between these two. These were the two drivers who started on the front row. Amish hanging out back there in 5th, just watching, but not really showing the speed to do anything with it. Scored Buffalo right now, 12.5 seconds off of the leaders. He is more than a lap down to our top 2. Again, I look at Golden and his tires right now. He's at 39% at the moment. So you do a little bit of mathematics. I think 25 laps might be way to go so far. Maybe not 30 laps, but 25 laps might be how long these DRPK guys could stay out. And there we are, Fuzzball to the inside. Golden went wide, and now Fuzzball goes into the lead. So Fuzzball into the top spot over his teammate Golden. They have pulled 13 seconds on Scored Buffalo, 14.5, almost 15 on Neesmorph, and now they swap back, and Golden goes back in front of Fuzzball now. So DRPK has the front of the field on lock early on tonight. Prius still keeping Maybe behind. They have gradually been pulling away from Amish, though, as this has gone on. But again, the question is, how long will it be until our leaders pit? Side by side, Maybe looks to the inside of Prius on the exit. Amish pounds the outside wall farther back. So Maybe stays behind Prius for now, but not really gain alongside, just running basically nose to tail to him for the moment. Maybe looking to the inside, not really in a position to do anything. So Scored up into the 8th position. Maybe he's fallen back to 4th, so Maybe would close points down on Scored, but not enough to massively alter the championship with 4 races left after tonight's race. This was originally supposed to be a pair of 100-mile races. However, the decision was made a few weeks ago that for the sake of simplicity to swap it to a 250-lap race instead. So a single, very, very long race tonight is in the cards, and Neesmorph has actually gotten by Scored Buffalo. That is words that you almost never hear in FEC. Fuzzball and Golden side by side again, and Fuzzball on the inside will scoop by with no issue. But now, everyone is closing up. Our top 2, their tire fall-off has gotten to the point where they are losing ground. 60% wear for Fuzzball, so he was only able to go for about 22 laps until those tires went off. So still a little bit better than the 20 laps we were thinking earlier, but not enough to massively alter things. And already you can see Prius and Maybe rapidly closing down on this duo. Golden gets back ahead of Fuzzball, though, so Golden and Fuzzball keep swapping the top position back and forth. And they can see Neesmorph and Scored Buffalo ahead, but they are likely not going to catch them before they make a pit stop for new tires. How deep do you push the tire wear? That is going to be one of the big questions. Maybe has now cleared Prius and has already gapped him by 0.5 of a second. I look at Maybe's tires. He's only at 41.6% wear right now. I look at Prius, who has fallen off of him. He is at 45%, so maybe superior at managing his tires compared to his rivals, and now he gets to the inside of 2 Fuzzball. There's nothing that Fuzzball is going to be able to do to fight back. Maybe clears him up pretty much as if he's standing still. And now Maybe gets a chance to start closing down on Golden. Prius has already gotten by Fuzzball as well. So Fuzzball has really pushed these tires. 68%. He's only at 3.8% left in the fuel tank. Golden is doing a little bit better job right now. He's only at 60% tires, but he's almost out of fuel. He'll be pitting out of the lead this time by. So Maybe now inherits clean air as Golden pits after 25 laps of running here. So 1/10 of the race done, and it looks like you can only go about 1/10 of the race distance on a set of softs. But now that opens up the question, does that mean the hard tires can go 50 laps? If so, this might not be a 5-stop race for drivers running all hards. This could be a 4-stop race, and then you have these drivers on the mediums here. They'd probably be looking at running about 32 laps or so. Fuzzball stayed out a lap longer than Golden, although he had lost a lot of time on track. He did stay out a little bit longer. Prius has run back down on Maybe. Scored Buffalo is 18 seconds up the road. So, again, right now, this is poised to be a humongous point stay for Maybe if the pace ends up being more important than the number of pit stops. But as you can see, Golden already a lap down and still has not come out of pit lane. Fuzzball already a lap down. When Golden finally comes out of pit lane, not only is he going to be 2 laps down, he's likely going to be behind these two. There he is, coming out of the pits just ahead of them. So he is still only 1 lap down for the moment, just barely ahead of our top 2. Maybe now starting to try and pull a gap on Prius because he has now caught the draft on Fuzzball. Looks to the inside of Fuzzball, neck and neck, side by side. That will put Golden, I said Fuzzball, that will put Golden 2 laps down. Fuzzball just now out of the pit, so he is 2 laps down, might even go 3 laps down depending on how this goes. So Golden 8th, but already 2 laps down, and maybe has pulled a 1 1/4 second gap on Prius. Prius at 56% tire wear, 6.9% in the fuel tank. Maybe has 10% in the fuel tank, 53% tire wear. So yeah, maybe he's going to be going a little bit deeper into this run than Prius, but neither of them are really poised to go the 40 laps that we were hearing talked about in pre-race. And then that focus would turn to Scored Buffalo. He is 20 seconds out of the lead. He is about to be caught by Maybe. If Maybe can catch Buffalo and put him a lap down, that would be huge. But if Buffalo ends up just minimizing pit stops and just making way fewer stops than everybody else across the entirety of the race, I wonder how much that would even matter. You pit 5 times over the course of the race, that makes this race, that means you basically are going to be down 10 laps in a sense. But if you pit more than that, that will increase to 14, maybe 20 laps down. That is against a hypothetical car who never ends up pitting. That is not possible, obviously. Maybe has already put Scored down, and now Maybe goes right by Niesmorph. Niesmorph not even remotely able to put a fight up. Niesmorph, though, keeping position over Scored Buffalo. So Buffalo seems to kind of be a setting duck right now. He did get by Niesmorph earlier, but then Niesmorph fought his way right back by. Prius paying this time by. Big Block paying this time by. Amish is going to move up into the second position. He is at 58% wear on that right front, but he's only at 1.8% left in the fuel tank. NFL Racer now up into 4th. He was the driver who finished 2nd here last year. 63.5% on that right front tire, 1.7% fuel left. So everyone on the lead lap is going to have to pit shortly here. Scored is going to get his lap back by virtue of staying out for so long, but the thing is, Maybe has more pace. Scored, though, is going to be potentially spending less time on the tires for the rest of this race today. Less time on pit road. So a bit of an interesting strategy dichotomy. Maybe continues to stay out, though. 62%, but he's down to less than 3% in the fuel. So he has not pushed it to 40 laps. He'll be close, but he's not quite at the 40 lap mark. I look at Scored, who is a lap down. He's at 41% on the most worn tire, so he could potentially go. You do the math, Scored might go 50 laps. I think Scored could maybe make this go for 50 laps, make this a 4-stop race, not a 5-stopper, a 4-stopper. But Maybe has put the entire field a lap down. He did this at the end of the race last season after a 75-lap green flag run. Now he's on track to do it again, Maybe coming into the pits this time by. So Maybe will pit. Scored Buffalo will inherit second. He's just about a whole lap behind, well, about 23 seconds behind Prius Killer right now. So Prius pitted earlier. He will have already clicked off some laps on fresher tires and clean air, but Prius is behind the 8 ball when it comes to tire management right now. Maybe it looks like he's going to cheese this race easily here just off the back of tire management, and that was the big thing that gave him the ability to win this race and put everybody a lap down in this race last season. Superior tire management compared to the rest of the field. Scored Buffalo now goes into the lead, so he will be our fourth different leader today. Both of the GRPK drivers, Golden and Fuzzball, have led laps. Maybe has led laps. Scored Buffalo now will be the 4th different driver to lead laps tonight. And the question, of course, is how long is Buffalo going to stay out here on this set of tires? I really think he's going to be able to go 50 laps, maybe a bit longer. He's at lap 40 now. That is the big number. Thing is, right now, Prius Killer has just gotten by Maybe, as Maybe has just now come out of the pits. Prius Killer is about 20 seconds out, and Prius and Maybe are both going to be faster and burning down the Nick Tina Moore to catch Scored Buffalo. Now, they basically have to catch him and be ahead of him by the time that Scored pits. Otherwise, Scored will have a bit of an advantage over them. So Scored going the slow and steady wins the race approach. Big twitch there. That was Scored who had that big slide in the background there. And that was Amish, who went alongside to get back on the lead lap. Scored, tries to come back by, but Amish still on the outside. There's Buffalo back on the inside. Has to swerve to not hit Amish, but he puts Amish back a lap down again. So Scored struggling with these harder compound tires, and Amish goes right back by. Scored, very nearly gets into it there. With, I believe that is, who is that? Is that Niesmorf? Yeah, that's Niesmorf nearly got into it with. Niesmorf on the same strat, or a strat similar to Scored, but he's already made his first stop. Scored has gone 43 laps. Again, we think he might be able to go 50 laps. If he can make this 50 laps, this would be a 4-stop race for him if we stay green the entire run tonight. Amish now definitely back on the lead lap, and now pulling on Scored. Scored only has 17 seconds over the duo of Prius and Maybe. But between these two, Maybe is superior at managing tires compared to Prius. So it's only a matter of time until Maybe scoots by Prius, and Prius is going to have to pit earlier than Maybe, basically throughout the entire run. Maybe, though, did not quite make it 40 laps, so Maybe, I do think there's still a 5-stop in the cards for Maybe. I do not know, though, if it's going to be an easy 5-stop or not, because if it was closer to 36 laps, like I think it was, I don't think that will be enough to make it a 4-stopper, but if it was closer to 38 laps, I think Maybe can still make this a 5-stopper tonight. And therein lies the squeeze. If it comes down to a scenario where it is Maybe on a 5-stop strategy versus Scored on a 4-stop strategy, Maybe only has to make up 2 laps on Scored. But if Maybe can't make it a 5-stopper, if he has to make it a 6-stopper, he has to somehow figure out a way to make up 4 laps on Scored. That was lap traffic in the form of Niesmorf that these drivers just went by there. No, that wasn't Niesmorf. That was actually Keen Racing Leo. My apologies. So 4 drivers on the lead lap right now. Amish had a strong qualifying, has maintained a top 4 run pretty much all day long today. Now we see Maybe looking back to the inside of Prius. Prius holding him up. These two continuing to close down on your leader. But I look at Buffalo. How much longer can he stay out? His right front 55% wear. He's got the fuel to go for several more laps. I really think that he's going to go for 50 laps and then pit it. And again, 4 stops would be humongous for Scored, especially if Maybe cannot make a 5-stop strategy work. Maybe is still closing on Scored with speed, though. But he is being held up by Prius for the moment. And both of them are being held up by traffic. Not a lot of traffic today. It is a small field, but that is Big Block just ahead. Big Block goes to the outside. Prius has to duck to the inside, and Maybe gets to clear both of them without too much issue. So Prius wide through 3 and 4 that time, so maybe use that to close the gap down a bit. 14.5 seconds between these two and the race leader. So they are now less than half a lap behind Scored Buffalo. And Buffalo has made it to lap 51. That is the big thing. He has made it to lap 51. He still has fuel in the tank. He's at 58% wear on the tires. He could probably knock off a few extra laps right now if he wanted. One devastating thing that he might try and do if he is really cautious on his tires, on his final run, if we stay green the entire run, he might try, and when he makes his final pit stop, may put on mediums instead of hards, just to really kind of kick Maybe in the teeth. But Maybe has just gotten by Prius now, and the gap from Scored to this duo is now less than 13 seconds, and Scored pits on lap 52. So he's going to go 2 laps down to this duo. But these guys both will have to pit sooner rather than later. 23% wear for Maybe's tires. For Prius, who runs right behind, he pitted way earlier already. He's at 34% wear. So these guys will take the lead back over here, but for how long? Again, we know that Scored's going to be 2 laps down by the end of this. But how long is he going to stay 2 laps down? And for Maybe, if he wants to make this, again, I think if he can go to about lap 76, maybe this driver could still make it a 5-stopper. But if he's going to struggle to get to 76, I don't know if that's going to be possible. Prius still runs right behind Maybe right now, though, still harassing the number one. Technically, Prius has not led a lap yet, even though he started on the front row, was side-by-side with the leader several times, and that is NFL racer that Maybe has already caught. And Maybe already putting NFL a lap down about 120 laps earlier than how long it took him to do it last season. Prius follows suit, but has trouble staying in Maybe's aero wash, going through turns 3 and 4, closes back in, coming out of 4. Now he'll look to the inside. Does he go deep? He does go deep. Prius on the inside, Maybe on the outside, and that might be enough. Prius goes into the lead now, as that is a car into the wall. I think that was Golden. Yeah, that was Golden who got into the wall there. Kind of held them all up a bit. Is there damage on Golden's machine? No damage by the looks of it, and now Prius officially leads at the line. So of our 10 starters, half of them have now officially led at least one lap tonight. We are flying right now. Again, the IndyCar record at Milwaukee, which I would argue is the closest comparison track that IndyCar has raced at in the last few years. The race record for IndyCar at Milwaukee for 250 lap race is 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 49 seconds back in 2014. Could we be on track to match that record tonight? Granted, smaller field, less traffic, that helps a lot. Potentially fewer stops, but no guarantee on that. And potentially fewer yellow flags. There was one yellow flag that lasted 9 laps in that 2014 Milwaukee race. We've had no yellows thus far in tonight's event. As Prius has kind of opened the gap on Maybe a bit, I think Maybe is slowing his pace down to try and cover his tires a bit better. He really wants to try and go to what I think is going to be lap 76. Technically it would be lap 77 up there, but he wants to probably get to lap 76 in the race to try and ensure that this is only a 5-stop for him. Scored Buffalo right now, he is only 1 lap down. He is not 2 laps down. He is only 1 lap down, so he still has maintained a decent gap over this group. He is in not super clean air right now, though, because Neesmorph is just ahead, but Neesmorph is just pitted. So now, Scored will be in clean air. And we are back to only 4 drivers being on the lead lap, and it is Fuzzball, who runs in 4th place right now, but his fuel is almost empty, and his tires are at 61%. So these drivers definitely running softer compound tires, Fuzzball and Golden are. As Block has just gotten by Golden now. Maybe about half a second out from Prius, but again, we believe that Prius is really kind of pushing a bit too hard and isn't going to be able to make full advantage of his tires. I think if anyone is going to be trapped on a 6-stop strategy doing all mediums, I think Prius is going to be the guy. He's really fast, but he's not shown the ability to slow his pace to manage his tires. Maybe basically the king in this series at slowing his pace down to save tires. And then you have Scored Buffalo, who's back there in the 8th spot. He's pretty close to being Maybe's equal in that, but typically Maybe he'll go really fast and then slow his pace down to save it. Scored starts out with a slow pace if necessary, so he doesn't lose a lot of delta over the run. But Maybe has now caught Prius, as Prius has pushed those tires to their limit. NFL has gone a lap down. 2 Fuzzball has pitted, so he is a lap down. So only 3 drivers on the lead lap. Amish somehow within 6 seconds of our lead duo right now. So Prius leads. Maybe runs in 2nd position right now. Scored up into the 7th spot at the moment. And for the moment, these two are still closing on Scored. Prius is wide, very wide though, through 3 and 4. I think he's cooked those tires out and Maybe goes back to the lead. 59% wear for Prius. He could probably stay out for another lap or 2, but not forever. For Maybe though, again, we are anticipating if he can get to lap 76, or 77 I should say, this should still be a 5-stopper for him. But if he can't make it to that point, he may have to abandon ship and commit to a 6-stopper. While Scored comfortably in the range of making this on 5 stops, and Scored may have the benefit of running a softer compound tire, not the softs outright, but a softer, stickier compound tire at the very end of this race as well. As Maybe now goes by lap traffic there. That was 9th place Neesmorph, who is now 4 laps down. Prius into the pits this time by, so now it is only Maybe an Amish on the lead lap. Amish, 57% wear on that right front. I look at Maybe, who continues to lead right now. 52% on that right front. On lap 68, again, if you want to get to 76, I don't know if maybe can make it that far. But one thing he has done, though, he has caught Scored Buffalo on pace. He is running Scored Buffalo down. About to catch him here. Big slide farther back there by Niesmorf. So maybe trying to put Scored Buffalo a second lap down here, but this would be the first time he would put Scored a lap down. Well, second time, actually. He would put Scored a lap down on merit. To the inside. Clears him with no issue whatsoever. So easy overtake by Maybe. He's only at 54% tire wear right now. It's lap 70. I think he might be able to get to lap 76. Again, it's not like Scored is going to be picking up pace. He's only going to be slower and slower running this harder compound tire. Amish now pits, so once again, the entire field is going to be a lap down momentarily here. Prius muscles his way by Scored, can see Maybe ahead, but he is 2 laps down to Maybe at the moment. Again, lap 76, that is the question, can he make it that far? 57% wear on the right front for Maybe. 58% now, and the rate of tire wear is only going to increase. How deep can he push it? $59 at the line. He has about this lap and 4 more. 73, 74, 75, 76. Yeah, so this lap and 4 more. He's at 60 right now. If he's only losing 2% of the tire life per lap, it will be tough, but he's going to make it. And mind you, he has gapped Buffalo on track. Buffalo has fallen way behind. When Maybe pits, he is going to be still ahead of Scored Buffalo, I imagine. He'll still have the lead over him. NFL Racer runs in second position right now, only 1 lap down at the moment. But he's got fuel, but he's got engine damage and a worn-out tire anyway, so NFL will have to pit shortly. Prius has just made his way by Maybe. Maybe may have backed out to let Prius by, as Maybe is trying to just limp this car to that 77 lap mark. But I look at the gap between him and Buffalo. Buffalo's not closing on Maybe. Maybe going slower and slower, but he's still faster than Scored. The way this is going, I think Maybe is still going to win this race. I think he's still going to put everyone a lap down. Scored is likely going to be his closest competition on strategy, and Prius will be his closest competition on pace. But it does not look like either of them are really able to match what Maybe does on these mediums, and he is on 76 now. I look at his tire life, 66%, so the tire life not as problematic as he may have thought it would be while he was talking 40 laps earlier. It doesn't look like he can go 40 laps, but 38 might be enough for him. Into the wall, though. He hits the wall, and that's Scored getting back by him. So Scored caught him just as he needed to get into the pit lane that time by. Okay, so Scored got 1 lap off of himself just as Maybe ducked into the pits. So how long is NFL going to stay out? Is he going to get a chance to lead a free lap or 2 here? Because he's only 1 lap down to the leader right now. 31.6, 31.9 is the gap from NFL to Maybe, and we're going to see that gap start collapsing soon here. Maybe still in the pit lane. Prius now back on the lead lap. Scored Buffalo now back on the lead lap. NFL obviously staying out to no one's surprise, and now you see that gap really closing down. Technically Maybe led that lap. Scored still has the fuel and some tires on him. He's going to take the lead and should be able to lead this lap without too much issue. Is Prius going to end up ahead of Maybe again? Mind you, Prius is peeing earlier than Maybe, but he is making good use, running faster laps it seems. And he is well clear of Maybe, although he is held up by one of the GRPK guys there. Get to the inside, should be an easy overtake, and he's by. But here's the crucial thing, Maybe is still ahead of Scored. It's by 2 seconds, and only 2 seconds. But he is ahead of Scored. So if he went 77 laps, so if he's going 38 laps each run, then add 38 to 77, that'd be 108 and 7. 115 would be the ideal pit stop time for Maybe next time. Scored's next stop would be lap 101, but he could go longer, and if he chooses to go longer, that gives him more time later in the event where he could potentially throw on a medium compound tire late. Oh, but that's Scored, hitting the outside wall farther back there. Is the handling going away for Scored? Well, he is losing time to maybe already more than 2 seconds out and hemorrhaging time. But he is on the lead lap and technically closer to maybe than when they started this race. But NFL is your leader right now. So 6 of our 10 starters have led laps tonight. And 2 Fuzzball back on the lead lap as well right now. Team Racing Leo, 7 laps down. Neesmorph and Golden, both 2 laps down. Big Block, only a single lap down at the moment. But we know NFL will have to pit soon, so that would hand the lead over to Prius here. And Prius is queuing into NFL's lead right now. But again, NFL is apparently limping with some engine damage at the moment. And those tires are cooked. This is it. He pits this time by lap 83. So this will hand the lead over to Prius. And maybe we'll go into second. Scored will go into the 3rd spot. I think that maybe if he can keep it 38 laps each time, it will be hard, but he could still keep this a 5-stop race without too much issue. Scored Buffalo, he's going to make it a 4-stop. Of that, there is no doubt. The thing is, though, I don't know if Scored has the pace to do anything with a 4-stopper. And Prius may be on a 6-stop strategy by virtue of not being able to push the medium tires as far as he had, as far as maybe had. And he hits the outside wall coming out of the corner. Not a huge hit, no damage, he'll keep going. That helps maybe close the gap down, and already Scored has fallen more than 4.5 seconds off of maybe. So yeah, I see no way that this race goes in any direction except for maybe not only winning, but putting the entire field 2 laps down. Prius is going to have to pit one more time. That's 2 laps lost. Scored does not have the pace. Scored simply does not have the pace on this strategy to make it work. He might still be able to finish second, but the question for Scored is going to be, is he going to be 1 lap down or 2 laps down? I see no world in which Scored is able to actually fight maybe. So maybe it's taken him a long time, but I think he's going to finally win a race this season. And for those of you who remember last year, maybe won this race. He had already won several races already at this stage last season. But when maybe won this race last season, it really kind of put the death knell in the championship. Yes, there had still been 3 more races after this one last season, but it gave him such an insurmountable lead that it just basically killed any hope that anyone had at championship then. As we're closing down on lap 90, we'll have about 160 laps to go. We are going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break here as we ride on board with Maybe Racing for a few laps, see what Flying Laps looks like, and the driver who is more than likely going to win this race tonight and win his first race of the season. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Eagle Rock Speedway, the fictional 1 mile oval here in Forza Motorsport. Prius leads, maybe is about 2.5 seconds back. While we were away, Amish Gaming made his way by, scored Buffalo for 3rd position. 2 Fuzzball is 5th, the last car on the lead lap right now. Big Block, 1 lap down in 6th. NFL, who led some laps earlier, he is 2 laps down 7th. Golden, who led a bunch of laps early in the event, he's 2 laps down 8th. Neesmorph is 9th, 4 laps down. Keen Racing Leo is dead last, 7 laps down at the moment. Maybe is not really closing on Prius with the pace that we anticipated, but again, maybe is not focused on going out there and leading a bunch of laps early on sheer pace. His focus is carefully managing his tire wear. We believe that he is trying to make it to lap 115 on this current set of rubber if he wants to try and keep this a 5-stop affair tonight. Scored on the 4-stop affair. Scored can easily make it to lap 101. There's no doubt of that. The question is going to be, how much farther past that is he going to go? Because if he goes far enough past it, multiple times, when he makes his final stop, he may not put on the hards for the final stint. He may put on the medium tire compound in the final stint, find some extra pace, and do something with that thin. And maybe, who has been running only mediums as far as we can tell, maybe has been struggling with intense pace fall off near the very end of his runs. If Scored suddenly ends up in a position where he has better tires than maybe, late in the event, there may be a reversal of fortunes, but we don't know how much that's going to matter because right now, Scored is 13 seconds behind maybe, and he's going to end up 2 laps plus 13 seconds behind maybe momentarily. And that is both Fuzzball and Prius pitting this time by, so lap 98. So that'll be the 3rd pit stop for Prius here. So he is only able to go, you do the mathematics, he's only able to go about an average of 33 laps or so, Prius is. Although I do think maybe he has run this most recent stint on the soft compound tire. He may have said, screw this, I'd rather have the outright pace. So Amish now goes into 2nd position now. He is 10 seconds out of the lead, but Amish is having another silently strong run. He's at 53.6% wear right now, though. I look at maybe who is your leader, 40.8% wear, but he doesn't have a lot of fuel left, 17.4%, although that should still be enough to get him to lap 115, which is the point we think he needs to make. Again, we are assuming 38 laps. He is playing once every 38 laps. Buffalo still staying out, though, although now he is about 2/3 of a lap behind maybe. He's at 57% wear. Still has some fuel. Can go a little bit longer. Right now, he's averaged 51 lap a stint. About to be 52 here when he hits the line. But that wouldn't really be enough to massively swing things in his favor, I don't think. Maybe it lets him put on the mediums for a 40 lap run near the end. That wouldn't be enough. He would need to go closer to 53 laps a stint each run in order to make throwing on mediums late an option. Yeah, it looks like he's only gone about 52 laps this time. So he's averaging 52 laps his runs right now. So that would not be enough for Scored to throw on mediums at the very end. Or if he does, while he would be fast for a bit, he would be worse off than this man maybe would be near the tail end of the event. Amish now moves into 2nd, but Amish has been more aggressive on his tire wear than maybe is, so we know Amish is going to pit. Amish kind of frustrating because he has been running top 4 pretty much all day long, but not in a position to lead any laps in tonight's event. Maybe you can see Prius just ahead of him right now. There's Amish pitting now, so once again, maybe puts the entire field a lap down. He is closing on Prius. He's going to try and put Prius a lap down sooner rather than later here. Prius at 9% wear on the tires at the moment. Look at maybe. Can he stay out for another 10 laps? He's at 50% wear. Well, we did this run last time by. He was running a little less than 2% of his tire life per lap, so he should be able to make it to lap 115 without issue on the tires. He's down to 9% in the fuel tank. So the fuel may be a little bit tighter for him, but even then, I think he can still make it. And even at that, he can probably let off and coast for a straightaway if he's really that concerned. Gets to the inside of Prius. side by side, and it looks like it's going to be no issue. Prius doesn't even try to put up a fight against Maybe. He's willing to just run behind him for the moment. So Maybe has now put the entire field 2 laps down. We are not even halfway through this event. I think Maybe is going to win this race by putting the entire field 2 laps down. And one kind of hiccup with Forza's ticker system is that once you are a lap down to the leader, the time gap only says how many laps down, so we don't really get a good idea what the gap is between the rest of the drivers on the field unless we are looking on track. To their credit, Scored Buffalo in 5th. 6th place is to Fuzzball, so Fuzzball is running down Scored despite the two of them being on radically alternate strategies. Maybe held up by a bit of traffic there. That is Keen Racing Leo, I believe, just ahead. Prius following behind, but again, Maybe's main focus. Trying to get to lap 115. 4% left in the tank. I might make it a 115. But Prius is doggedly attacking him. Prius wants to get at least one of his laps back here. Pulls up behind Maybe again, but can't pull alongside. He has to stay out here for 4 more laps. But he's got less than 3% in the tank here. I don't think Maybe can make it to 115 this time. Has Maybe bungled on his fuel strat. Well, they have just about caught Scored Buffalo, though. Golden has gone a lap down as he's just pitted, but they are just about to catch Scored Buffalo, this duo is. And if Prius catches Scored Buffalo, that would put him an entire lap ahead of Scored, which would be very interesting, to say the least. And now Maybe pits, but he's only gone to lap 113. So he only went 36 laps this time, not 38. So suddenly, alarm bells playing. Buffalo might still have something here, because maybe either he's going to have to overfill and slow down to salvage the tires in the next few stints, or he may have to commit to an extra stop late. Buffalo holding on in 6th. He's got Prius right behind. We anticipate that Prius is going to go onto the lead lap momentarily here. And there he is. Prius on the lead lap. NFL now jumps onto the lead lap. Amish, don't know if he's going to get a chance, but there's a little bit of contact, and Buffalo's having a slide. A big slide through the corner. A humongous amount of time lost there. That might have saved Maybe's shot at trying to put the entire field a lap down. Okay, so we've already talked about Maybe putting the entire field a lap down. That is all but given that he's going to put the entire field a lap down. The question is going to be who is second. Because there's a 20-point swing in Scored's favor ahead of Maybe coming into this race. If Scored finishes second and Maybe wins, that gap only closes to 10. If Scored finishes third and Maybe wins, the gap closes to 5. So if Scored can still put the car on the podium tonight, he'll still leave here with the points lead. And we had talked last week, if you remember, at Mid-Ohio, it looked like Maybe was going to win that race. And that would have closed the points gap down quite a bit, but Maybe could not manage traffic well in the closing stages, and Scored did a better job managing traffic in that scenario. Maybe leads. Prius has caught him, and Prius is trying to get back into the lead. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Maybe has the fresher tire. Prius seems faster. I think Prius's peak pace is better than Maybe's. But peak pace does not matter. What matters, normally in an oval race or an IndyCar, is normally traffic management. But what's mattering tonight with such a thin field, it's how far you can push the tires while balancing pace. NFL now pits out of 3rd position. But again, the big question, though, is maybe he's going to have to figure out a way to basically save 2 laps that he lost on that prior run. Now, one option is maybe could always throw on the hard compound tires for one of these stints and overfill the car just to ensure it's not an issue for him to the end. Prius still doggedly pursuing him. Amish about half a lap, well actually closer to about 3/4 of a lap behind this duo right now. I'm really interested to see where Prius and Buffalo end up in relation to each other later in the event. Not yet to the race's halfway stage. There is a fight for the lead, but a fight for the win seems all but done for and dead. Prius is too far behind on strategy, and Scored is too far behind on pace. In fact, Scored is already a lap and a half behind our leaders right now. And if he gets caught and put a lap down momentarily here, then yeah, there's just no way that that rate he would be 4 laps behind maybe. And while he would make 2 of those up by skipping a pit stop, that'd still put him another 2 laps behind. So even if maybe ends up committing to a 6th stopper, maybe would still likely be ahead of Buffalo near the end of this. And now Prius seems to be losing touch with maybe again. No yellow flag thus far. 2 Fuzzball runs in 4th. He is now caught Amish for the 3rd position. Looks to the inside, side by side, neck and neck for the final step on the podium. That is Fuzzball scooting into 3rd, but he goes wide in the following corner, and Amish crosses him over on exit. Easy crossover there by Amish. Amish has really turned his fortunes around from last season. Arguably not as fast as likes of NFL or Prius, but he's going to be fighting likely with Fuzzball and Golden for what would be about 5th or 6th in points as the rest of the season continues to play out here. Again, do remember this season there is a drop round. Every driver's worst scoring result is removed from their points total at the end of the year. Maybe is the one who would lose points in that scenario. Scored has already missed a race, so his drop round, he would lose 0 points. Now that also means that Scored can't afford to miss any more races. But right now, Scored does have that little thing in his pocket. Maybe he's bound to lose points before the end of the season. Scored, if he keeps showing up to the rest of the season's events, is not in a similar event, is not in a similar struggle. Past the halfway point now. Maybe leads. Prius is 2nd. Amish about 4/5 of a lap behind them in 3rd. They are the only drivers on the lead lap right now. And maybe is starting to open that gap a bit on Prius. I think Prius has finally felt his tires start to go off. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and while we do, we're going to spend a lap or 2 on board with Prius, give you an idea what it's like running one of these Indy cars here with tires that are falling off late in the stint. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Eagle Rock, lap 132 of our 251 event, technically 131 of 250 here. Your leader is Maybe Racing. He has put everyone except Amish a lap down right now, and Amish is going to go a lap downs again shortly as he pits in a bit. Maybe's goal, though, he wants to make this a 5-stop race. To do so, he needs to stay out until lap 153, but he's been kind of iffy on making those numbers work. We don't know if Maybe is going to be able to stick with a 5-stop or if he's going to have to abort and jump to a 6-stop strategy. One thing to consider, though, if he does abort the 5-stop and go to a 6-stop, an option might be on the table for Maybe to throw on these soft compound tires for his final 2 pit stops. Realize, hey, I'm going to lose time making this 6th stop, but I can make it up by just being faster on track. That is Prius just ahead of him, who is about to go a lap down. Prius, to his credit, caught Maybe, and at the halfway point, he was right behind Maybe, doggedly pursuing him, but Prius is behind Maybe on pit stop strategy and tire life. He has been the closest thing that Maybe has had to competition tonight. We thought that Scored would be able to keep up with him on pace, but no, Scored has chosen to run the hard tires all the way through and just has not had the pace on those to do anything with it. So it is Prius who has been Maybe's closest competitor, and there's contact, door-to-door contact, and that's Maybe scooting alongside. Prius tries to hold the outside, not able to do it. He'll try the crossover on exit. Not able to do it. Prius is good enough to stay in Maybe's tire tracks, but not good enough to actually make the move, not good enough to actually make the overtake for the position here. Now that is, I believe, Golden just ahead of them. Yeah, that is Golden, who's about to go 4 laps down. Golden and Fuzzball took off into the lead early as they ran soft tires in the earlier stages of the event, but now they've kind of been trapped behind the 8 ball. This race has gone caution-free this far, so we are on a blitzering pace, and those drivers who were running the softer compound tires in the event now caught multiple laps down. Prius still aggressively hounding Maybe around here. And again, we believe that Maybe's goal, he needs to get to about lap 153 or so. And then after 153, well, actually, no, I'm not sure that would work. Let me check here. I'm going to recalculate. Yeah, so apparently, if you wanted to make this a 5-stop affair, I've been thinking you could go 38 laps and make it work. The numbers I'm looking at now, I just recalculated, that would not be enough. You would need to go about 41 to 42 laps. 38 will not be enough. 6 stints of 38 laps would only get you to lap 228. Maybe is likely locked into a 6-stop strategy. But, and that's the big thing, but Scored Buffalo is still locked on the 4-stopper. And the bigger thing, though, is that, again, maybe when he makes his 6th stop, he might still be able to jump in, throw on some soft tires, and click off some wicked fast laps near the very end to try and help salvage his run. I think the win is still in his cards, but it's going to be a difference between putting everyone 2 laps down and maybe still have to deal with potentially Prius or Scored near the end of this. Now, if you want to go for a 7-stop strategy, a 6-stop strategy, if you split the race into stints of 7 overall, if you can go about 36 laps each run, you'll be fine. It'll be a little bit difficult, but it would be fine. Could that be in the cards? Well, if that was the case, maybe would have to pit on lap 144, and he's already gone past that point. So again, I think maybe he's just extending these runs on the mediums now to potentially throw on the softs on the very final pit stop just to ensure a lockdown over everybody else here. We have still been flying through this race, to be fair. And that is Prius, who is once again right behind Maybe. but his best laps are always chucked behind Maybe. He's not been able to get alongside him until the very end of Maybe's tire life. And then typically after the pit stops are over, Maybe ends up right in front of Prius or right behind him and gets right back by him in a lap or two anyway. There we go, Prius to the inside of Maybe. So that puts Prius only one lap down again. And where this group in relation to Scored's only a few seconds up the road from them. And now Maybe is really starting to hemorrhage time now. 61% on that right front. He's got more fuel in the tank though, so he might be trying to go a little bit longer this time by. NFL making another stop, so he'll now go 5 laps down. And that is Prius getting alongside Amish there. Amish already 2 laps down. Might even go 3 down depending on if Maybe catches him. DRPK Golden now paying out a 6th spot. Scored, he's at 52.6% on that right front wear, but he is in the 150s, so he is good on making it on 4 stops still. So the 4-stop strategy still in Scored's favor. Now we don't know how deep he's going to go into this run, but he is definitely on track to still make this on just 4 stops. Now, the longer he goes on these runs on the hards, means that potentially he could jump onto the mediums in the very close, in his final stint. Find a little bit of extra pace near the end. But he'd have to go a lot deeper than 153. He'd want to go closer to about 156, honestly, as he's just been caught by Prius now. This is a battle for position right now, but these two are on radically different strategies. Prius kind of caught behind Scored, but falls off, not really able to do anything to him. They have completely left, maybe in the dust, but he is going farther this time by. He's at 69% on that right front, but he is going a lot farther this time than he did before. He'll have less than 100 laps when he pits. If Maybe really wants to, when he pits, he could throw on the hards and run about 50 laps, then throw on the hards again. If he really wanted to. Prius has now cleared Scored for 2nd spot, but how long is Maybe going to stay out on these tires? He is hemorrhaging time. He's down to 71% on his tires. He finally pits. About 96 laps to go. So 96 laps left, and Maybe finally ducks into the pit lane. So either he is going to commit to 2 more stops, which means he'd run a pair of 32-lap stints or something close to a trio of 32-lap stints or something close to that, or he could throw on the hards, run about 48 to 50 laps, pit, and then run the hards again. We don't know. He's kind of putting himself in a position where I think the strategies have opened for him a bit. One thing to consider is Maybe going to still end up ahead of Prius afterwards because he stayed out so long, hemorrhaged so much time. Last 3 times, Maybe's been right close to Prius after pitting. That's not the case this time, though. Prius to the lead now. By a pretty hefty margin by the looks of it. Scored Buffalo actually now ends up in 2nd. He is going to be ahead, although he is pitting this time by. So Scored pits 1 lap later. So Scored only has about 95 laps to the end. 94, 95, somewhere around there. So Maybe goes back into the 2nd spot now. 7 seconds out from Prius. Now, Prius is going to be pitting sooner rather than later because his tires are already cooked. So Maybe he's going to be back to being the only car in the lead lap very shortly here. Again, we know Maybe has this race won. The question really is going to be, how many laps down can he put the rest of the field? If he puts the entire field 2 laps down and we get a late race yellow, Maybe we'll still have an entire lap on the rest of the grid. But even if that doesn't happen, the question then becomes Prius versus Scored. Who's going to get 2nd in that case? Scored coming home 2nd preserves about half of his championship lead coming into the event. Prius getting 2nd means that Maybe really closes down to within what we believe would be 5 seconds of Scored. And the fight for a 3rd in points between Prius and NFL. Prius is 3 laps ahead of NFL right now. There is no doubt in anyone's mind, I think, that Prius is going to clear NFL in that fight for 3rd right now. Well, Prius is now pitted this time by. So now, with 90 laps left, Maybe is going to go back into the lead. Amish briefly filters back into second position all over again. Now, if Prius and Scored have some issues, Amish is going to be in a position he could steal a podium result if either Prius or Scored have some catastrophes happen tonight. And he's running long on this current set of rubber. Again, we don't really know what Maybe's strat to the end is going to be. We're still ahead of Scored for the moment, and he is trundling out of pit lane. He is still going to be well clear of Scored Buffalo. Real quick, let's look at the number of pit stops thus far. 5 for Prius, 5 for Fuzzball, 6 for Neesmorph, 7 for Keen Racing Leo, 4 for Maybe, Amish, Block, NFL, and Golden. And that was Leo into the wall back there in turn 3. No damage. He keeps going, but a little bit off the pace right now, it seems. So since the start of the race, Scored up 6 spots after having his qualifying time DSQ'd. No one else really up a whole lot. Block up 2 spots. Golden is down 4. Neesmorph down 2, but really just not a lot of big changes. Just because of how small the field is. So I look at Amish, his tire wear right now, 43.5%. I look at Maybe, who's running ahead of him, 18.5%. So yeah, Maybe easily is going to hold on to the lead, continue to lead. Leads most of the laps, without a doubt. Had a bit of a hiccup on his third run, but went on his second stint. Third stint, that is. Third stint on tires, but on his fourth stint, he went very long to compensate. May have lost a lot of time in the process, but he went very long to compensate. Oh, and that's Maybe sideways and sliding in the corner. Just as I was doing a real quick recalculation here, Maybe loses a huge chunk of time there with a self-inflicted slide in turn 2. So that closes Amish down a little bit. That will help Prius a bit, and it really helps Scored out as well. That's the first real big mistake we've seen from Maybe all day long. But he's still going to commit to the outside and will make an outside line overtake on GRPK by the looks of it. But look at that. That is Scored, who is now just behind, or was just behind. Now he gets washed out wide as he's struggling to get by the GRPK guys. That is Golden, who he is fighting with. He can't get by him. But now Amish down to just 13 seconds out of the lead. And Prius now only about a lap and a half behind up Maybe. Again, this is a long race. Remember, last season, this was only a 175-lap race. At this point last season, we were in the closing stages talking about Maybe putting NFL a lap down, which he did do at the white flag lap. But right now, we still have 75 more laps after that point in the event. That's 1 or 2 more stops, depending on your strategy. And that's also about 25 more minutes? And that's assuming we stay green all the way through. Scored very wide to the corner there. Maybe to the inside. That was NFL. He just got to the inside. And now NFL 3 laps down to Maybe. Oh, and that's a huge hit on the outside wall. Is there damage on NFL's machine? No, but he is at 50% tire wear. He'll want to pit sooner rather than later, I imagine. 75 laps left in the event. How much longer does Maybe stay out on this rubber? Got 24% in the fuel tank. How deep is he gonna go? And not really a lot of other battles going on right now due to how small the field is and how spread out everyone has become. off of strategy. That was Racing Leo, has a big hit on the outside wall there out of turn 2. No damage. He'll be able to continue. Oddly enough, he is very slowly catching Neesmorphed. I don't know if he'll have a chance to catch Neesmorphed and actually find him on track near the end, but the gap between Neesmorphed and King Racing Leo was at 4 laps earlier, and now it's down to 2 laps. So there may be a fight for the bottom 2 positions in this race before this is over. Neesmorph gets to the inside, and he hits the outside wall there in turn number 1. And there is massive damage on the rear of the car. Is that going to be a yellow? Fuzzball jumping into the pits this time by. And Neesmorph slides to a stop on the infield on the back straightaway. He is off the racing line. Is that going to be a yellow? Neesmorph makes it into the pits. Maybe, though, is not slowing down, so no signs of a yellow for that. So it looks like we're going to stay green here. About 71 laps to go. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and while we do, we're going to spend a few laps on board with Scored Buffalo, give you an idea of what rain on the harder compound tire is like here around Eagle Rock. We'll be back shortly at this 1 mile over. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Eagle Rock. Your leader is Maybe Racing with about 65 laps left in the event, but we do not know if he's going to commit to 1 more stop or 2 more stops. He has the pace to automatically win this event. We know that, barring a late race yellow, and even then his pace would likely be enough to keep any challengers behind him. The question really is going to be, in the fight for second, Prius has had pace. Scored, though, is looking to cut out potentially up to 4 laps compared to Prius overall. But Prius has had so much more pace. He's already a lap ahead of Scored right now, and likely going to be more than that in a bit here, because he's just about to catch Scored. Again, Prius is on a pure pace-focused event. He's willing to take the extra stops. Scored, not willing to focus on pace at all. He's just trying to minimize time on pit road. It's going to be very interesting to see between these two who ends up in second, because that will have major championship implications. And for those of you who missed earlier, oh, and that's contact with King Racing Leo and Prius into the outside wall there. That's a big help for Scored Buffalo. Traffic management starting to get really sloppy. We are in unexplored territory. No race in FEC's history has run this many laps before. So we are really deep into unexplored territory right now. A lot of these drivers are going to be dealing with some fatigue. on a level that you've never seen. Again, this race last season, only 175 laps long. This season, 250. This race is the only one on the season comparable in length to a real-life IndyCar race. Every other event this season has been about only half the length of a normal IndyCar race. But this one, the exact length of a real IndyCar race. You have to wonder, how much is fatigue going to be playing into stuff near the end here? About 65 laps to go now. Prius still stuck behind traffic, struggling to get by as his tires are cooked as well, which makes it even harder getting a good run out of these corners. You can see Scored ahead. He wants to get by Scored, get 2 laps on Scored before he pits. All right, he's cleared Keen Racing Leo that time by. But look at Prius. He's only got 2% in the fuel tank, 54% on that tire wear. He's going to have to pit shortly here. Now, when he pits, he could throw on the hards. They would be rough, but he could throw on the hards and go to the end. And maybe it's paint out of the lead. Maybe paint out of the lead this time by. Maybe paint out of the lead this time by right now. And Prius has just joined him as well. Prius has just joined him. So Scored, is he going to get a chance to get back onto the lead lap here? All right, well, he's got ahead of Prius, but maybe is already cycling out of pit lane right now. So the interesting thing is that maybe and Prius could realistically be on roughly the same strat, but the thing is that Prius is going to be well behind him. Yeah, Prius is going to be a lap behind Maybe still, and Maybe has still got 15 seconds on Scored. All right, so now the gap between Maybe and Scored now down to about 10 seconds. That's a lot closer than we thought it would be. Scored only has 1 more stop. Maybe might have 2. Could Scored still pull something out of this here? Okay. So now it's down to just about 56 laps to go. Scored, 1 more stop left. Maybe he's just completed a stop, but does he have another stop? We believe he should have 1 more stop, but if he's thrown on the hards, he could limp the hards to the end, but he would be slower than Scored to the end of the race. But if he's thrown on the mediums, he'll be faster. He'll have another stop, but so does Scored. Unless there's been a catastrophic strategy miscue from Maybe, I think he still has this one. The only way I think he loses this to Scored right now is if he threw on the hards, because he's going to be dealing with some awful tire fall off near the very end if he chose to do that. But if he's not done that, if he's on the mediums, yes, he'll have another stop, but so is Scored. And Scored's already behind him. I think Maybe has this in the bag. So what about Scored versus Prius right now? Scored is about 2/3 of a lap ahead of Prius right now. Prius, we know, has got 1 more stop left, or at least we assume he has 1 more stop left against Scored right now. And Scored's going to be pitting likely in the next 4 to 8 laps, I imagine. Maybe he goes a little longer. I don't think he's going to press it to lap 210. If he pressed it to lap 210, maybe he could throw on the mediums for the final run to the end. I don't know if he'd want to do that. But if he decides to pit a little earlier than that, he can get off these hards before they really fall off in grip. And then he would end up in the catbird seat here on the run to the end. About 10 seconds is the gap between Maybe and Scored. So Maybe is back to opening the gap right now. Again, everyone in our field still likely has 1 more stop to make. Running with about 20 minutes left. About 50 laps left here at Eagle Rock. Yeah, we are on a blitz for pace tonight. no yellow flags has really helped that out. Scored is not falling off of Maybe at the rate he has before, though. I wonder, has Maybe gone ahead and gone conservative and thrown on the hard compound tires? Now look at Prius, who pitted at the same time as Maybe. He's at 17% wear on his rubber. I look at Maybe, who leads right now. He's at 17% as well. So if Maybe threw on the hard compound tires, well then Prius must have done the same thing. Maybe Scored's just found a bit of pace late here. Goes an awful late time in the event to find pace. But pace is pace. Fuzzball making a stop. Big Block making a stop. After that incident that Niesmorph had earlier, he was behind Keen Racing Leo, but pit stops are continuing to play out, and Niesmorph is back ahead of Keen Racing Leo by 1 lap for the moment. Golden looks like he is going to have another good start to an oval event, get derailed, and it looks like 8th will be the best he can pull off, though. So he's not really going to get a chance to close on either NFL or Prius in the fight for what would be 3rd. Amish likely is going to be the one fighting with Golden for what would be around the 6th position in points. A lot of that depends on Amish and how many more races Amish shows up to, because Amish pretty much by default scores big points in every race he shows up to, but he doesn't show up to a lot of events. Alright, so now Maybe has Scored about half a lap down, maybe a little more than that, maybe closer to 60% of a lap down. But Scored hasn't made this stop yet. He's got 8% in the fuel tank. Again, I think maybe Scored is going to throw on the mediums on the final sprint to the end. Look at Maybe, who is leading still, 24% wear on the tire, so he is not going to run these tires to the end. That is for sure. He is not on the hards, he is on a softer compound tire. Again, the big question is going to be Scored versus Prius, but Scored is about 2/3 of a lap ahead of Prius right now, and they both have another stop to make. Now, Prius is going to be doing a little bit better managing his pace and tire life to the end, but Scored has the track position. So Scored from last to second, and had at some points in the event led laps as well. More than likely, he's still going to finish a lap down, though. But maybe had more laps under green, but might only put everyone a lap down again. Maybe not 2 laps. And there is still time for that to change, but I guess relative to Maybe, everyone else has found a little bit more pace. And if the and Scored Buffalo paying out a second. But as I was about to say, the driver has definitely found the most pace relative to last season. Amish, who might still have an outside shot at the podium, depending on how things play out with Scored and Prius here. Amish also going to have one more stop very shortly here, but he can definitely throw on the mediums when he makes this final stop and just run that to the end. He'll have to stay out for probably another 2 or 3 laps now, but he's got the fuel. His tires aren't great, but when he pits, he can throw on the mediums, not have to worry, and he'll have a decent amount of pace to the checkers. So Scored made his final stop with about 42 laps left. Is that enough for him to warrant throwing on the medium compound tires? He'll have pace for about 30, 35 laps, and then find it dies off near the end. Prius is not going to have to worry about that, but Prius is behind Scored on track. Other thing, though, is that Prius can get away with a lighter fuel load, a shorter pit stop, because he does not have to put as much fuel in. He'll have less of the race left. Again, normally that wouldn't be a big difference, especially on a road course, but here on the oval, where a few tenths is huge, that would be the kind of thing that Prius will like to have in his favor. We have gone 211 laps thus far without a yellow flag. We have had single car accidents. Keen Racing Leo had an accident earlier. Niesmorph had a accident where he got into it with one of the GRPK guys and backed it into the wall. But no yellow flag for those single car incidents. That is why Niesmorph and Keen Racing Leo are both more than a dozen laps down at this stage of the event. Right now, if we had a yellow right now, Amish and Prius would get their laps back. But this series typically doesn't filter lap traffic out of the lead lap cars. So maybe he would still have lap cars between himself and those two. So even with the late race yellow, maybe has this race basically on lock. Well, we've spent laps on board with a lot of drivers in this event. Let's go ahead and take a few laps with Amish. We'll be back shortly here at Eagle Rock. Ooh, wow, that's an impact. Is that a yellow? I don't think it's a yellow. Does not look like it will be a yellow. All right. Well, that's that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Eagle Rock. About 32 laps left in the event. Maybe Racing is your leader. He has trapped the entire field at least one lap down. While we were away, Niesmorft had a pretty significant accident coming out of the final corner. Spun, hit the inside wall. Had some damage on the car, but he did limp it to pit lane. He is repairing the damage now. Apparently, no yellow flag for that, and that is Maybe, who has caught Scored Buffalo once again. Now, both these drivers have to pit one more time. No, Scored does not have to pit one more time, but Maybe does have to pit again. When Maybe pits again, he'll lose 2 laps to Scored. So if he can clear Scored down, put Scored 3 laps down, it would guarantee that Scored, yeah, he has done that. So yes, this guarantees that Scored will not be a factor against Maybe to the end of this race. But again, Scored's fight is not really with Maybe. He knows that he doesn't have anything for Maybe. His fight is with this man here, Prius. Prius still has to pit again. Now he'll have a shorter pit stop and will be on faster tires. And he's going to be pitting this time by. Prius could potentially throw on the soft compound tires. Scored, he's either on the mediums. No, he's on the hards again by the looks of it. So Scored looks like he is on the hards. Prius is going to be on the softer compound tires. So Prius is going to be burning down the nicotine more to try and catch Scored by the end here. Now, will he be able to do it? That is the big question. Prius was 2 laps ahead of Scored, but now he's going to be only 1 lap ahead of Scored this time by. And Scored is going to get about this entire lap down. So I think Scored's going to be ahead of Prius here. But will it be enough for him to hold on to second over Prius? Prius has finished podium in the last 3 events. Second at Indianapolis, a win at Road America, third at Mid-Ohio. Could he be on track for 4 back-to-back podiums? Scored now gets by Prius. Prius still has not gotten out of pit lane. Where is he in relation to Amish? He's still ahead of Amish. And Amish is going to be at a tire disadvantage, so I don't think Amish has any shot of catching Prius. But this is going to get interesting because Prius has about 25 laps. Might be closer to 23 laps, honestly, because they don't let the lap drivers finish their laps. But he's going to have about 23 laps to try and catch Scored here. Maybe leads by 3 laps over Scored Buffalo, but he'll have to pit sooner rather than later. He doesn't have a lot of fuel left, but when he pits, he can throw on the softs and just blitz everything here to the end. Again, 5 stops for Maybe, and it looks like this will be a 6-stop race for Maybe. But he's going to run the soft tire compounds at the very end by the looks of it. Scored is running all hards. Prius has had a fair balance between the softer and the medium compound tires throughout the run. And he's going to have pace on Scored to the end here. Again, our ticker's not really going to show the gap between second and third in time deltas. But but we're going to do this instead. Points of interest camera. That's Buffalo, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004. About 4 seconds, maybe a little bit more, between Prius and Scored right now. So Prius should be in a position to run him down. He's going to have fresher tires for sure, and a lighter fuel load. Now his tires will definitely fall off near the end. Scored's not going to be dealing with that as much. About 12 laps left for our leader. Again, he'll have to pit. Not 12 laps, sorry, 22 laps left for our leader. He's going to have to pit soon, and when Maybe pits, he'll throw on the softs, we imagine. Run to the end without issue. Will put the entire field a lap down. It's the same kind of dominance of last season, but with a race that's all green and Maybe having the best pace, you would think he would put everyone 2 to 3 laps down by the end. But that just does not seem to be in the cards tonight for Maybe. Only a lap down, so by extension, you would assume that the rest of the field has honestly found a bit of pace relative to Maybe, which might explain why Maybe hasn't shot out of the cannon this season, dominating right away like he did last year. This would only be his first race win this season. Last year, this was his third race win. That's Maybe who's pitting now. So Maybe has just made his stop. So this puts Scored, Buffalo, and Prius now 2 laps down. They're going to end up only being 1 lap down. And Prius is running down Scored with speed. That gap is rapidly closing. Boy, is that gap rapidly closing. Again, that little 2 on the map in the corner, that is Scored right now. That little 3 on the map in the corner, that is Prius. You can see that gap between them closing fast. Scored about to catch some traffic. That's not going to help either. Scored has been awful dealing with traffic. I think there's only about a second and a half between these two right now. Now, Scored's going to have no tire fall off, so this pace he has is what he's going to maintain to the end of the race. Prius is likely going to have a little bit of tire fall off, but if he opens up enough of a gap on Scored after passing him, it won't matter. Maybe still in pit lane right now. Scored and Prius still a lap down compared to him. Are they going to be able to get back on the lead lap? Well, Prius has just caught Scored coming onto the back straightaway, and Maybe is still clear of them by several seconds. Around the outside is Prius. Can he make it stick? He does! He cuts down in front of Scored. Prius up into the second spot. Scored slides back to third. And that is huge for Maybe. That means that gap shrinks from 20 points coming into this race down to just 5 points in Maybe's favor now. But Prius has to maintain that. The good news, though, is that it's relatively clean track ahead. The next car up the road is Maybe, and Maybe is going to be blitzing to the end. Maybe will have no tire fall off. It's going to be a while until he catches any traffic. So Maybe, Prius, and Scored all blitzing to the end here. So now the question is going to be, how much of a gap can Prius open on Scored to the checkered flag? Amish about a straightaway and a bit more behind Scored right now, and Amish should have a pace advantage on Scored, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time to do anything with it. He is at 36% wear on his tires right now. I look at Scored, who is in third. He is at 30.7% wear on his tires right now. But again, so Scored has a tire advantage on Amish still, so Amish only going to be able to bring home fourth by the looks of it. Again, one interesting thing is that a lot of different drivers have led laps tonight. Golden and Buzzball traded the lead a bunch over the first 10th of this race. Then it went to Maybe, who led a big chunk, along with Prius leading some on strategy. We saw Scored Buffalo lead multiple chunks of this race as he was running an alternate strategy. NFL, also on his own alternate strategy, led a bunch of laps. So 6 of our 10 starters tonight have led laps. Strategy-wise, for getting into the lead has been competitive, but overall, I think everyone kind of knew that Maybe he had this race on lockdown. The big thing, of course, not as much of a lockdown as he did last year, but he's still going to put everyone a lap down. It's just, it took about the same time to put everyone a lap down, but I think the big oofy, ouch owie, is that NFL racer finished only 1 lap down, just barely a lap down at the end of this race last year. This year, he is going to be 3 laps down. So NFL has lost pace relative to Maybe. Amish has found pace. Scored did not run this event last season. And then Prius didn't run this event last season either. But NFL has lost pace relative to Maybe. But we have other drivers who seem to have kind of upped the ante. So while they have been still slower than Maybe, it's not been as much slower as what we were seeing last year. Across the line, 11 laps to go now for Maybe. The gap between Prius and Scored is now about a fifth of the about 1/6 of the circuit and growing. But again, Prius is going to likely be dealing with a bit of tire fall off near the very end here. Scored will not, but that gap is so big. I don't think it's going to matter. Neesmorph and Keen Racing Leo are also both on the same lap right now. But Neesmorph is about 9/10 of a lap behind Keen Racing Leo at the moment. He is actually on track to being 16 laps down nearly. And that is not the case for Neesmorph. It looks like he's going to be staying 15 laps down to the end. So I think in that fight for 9th, as long as Neesmorph doesn't have another accident, Neesmorph will come home 9th. Keen Racing Leo will be 10th. Golden will be 8th. Block 7th. 6th NFL, who is running about a straightaway behind to Fuzzball. Then 4th will be Amish. who's going to be just one lap down to the leaders. Scored, continuing to lose ground to Prius, and Amish has been closing the gap, but not fast enough. 51% wear on that right front is not going to help Amish either. I don't think Amish has a chance at getting Scored unless Scored has a big moment into a wall or something. Less than 10 laps here. Finally, it has taken this entire season for maybe to pull off this win. Took him all the races until last week to finally get a second place result. Finally got a second last weekend. Now he finally gets a win. Finally puts himself back into the momentum seat in the championship fight. Pulls up behind one of the GRPK drivers once again. Side by side. Easy overtake there. That's Golden, who now goes into the lap down. He has to pit late as well, so that's just going to kind of insult to injury to his run. So the gap in the championship should close down to 5 points. It will still be Scored Buffalo leading the title, but it will be a 5-point advantage. That will be the tightest it has been that Scored has had over anyone else this entire season. All season long, Scored has had 10 or more points over everybody else. Now it's going to shrink down to, we believe, just 5 points after this race is over. 4 laps to go. No issues for Maybe. He's actually a little bit overfueled. Prius going to come home second. 4 straight podium results for Prius. Absolutely incredible run. He should have just enough fuel to make it to the end. He is about a third of the track ahead of Scored Buffalo at this stage. Buffalo just kind of clicking off laps by himself. He'll be fine to the end. Then you have Amish back here in 4th. I think he'll just barely be able to stay on the lead lap as long as he doesn't pound the wall. 61% wear on that tire, though. So as our leader crosses the line, that was 2 laps to go. When he hits the line this time, it will be 1 lap left. After he takes the checkered flag, we'll take a Twitch mandated ad break and then try to talk with some of our top finishers tonight. This race has gone at a blitzing pace. White flag in the air. No yellow flags. Flag to flag green tonight. And again, the real-life IndyCar race record at Milwaukee for a 250-lap race was 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 49 seconds in 2014. We're going to see momentarily here if Maybe is going to make that record. But record or not, he is going to go back-to-back, winning here at Eagle Rock. Does it from the pole. Fantastic job by Maybe. The dominant performance he needed to swing the championship momentum back in his favor. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break. We'll be back in about a minute and a half and try to get some post-event interviews with some of our top finishers tonight. All right, can you hear me? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Eagle Rock. Your winner, Maybe Racing, jumping into the party with us right now for a post-event interview. Maybe, same thing as last year. You put the entire field a lap down. Finally, win a race this season, and the championship points gap, we believe, should shrink to just 5 points after today. Everything seemed to go right for you today. Is there anything of note that you have to say after such a strong performance?
Name of the game is just going as long as you can, I guess. About all I did, and just race kind of fell that way. This track, the pit lane takes so long that if you can extend just 2 laps, it helps in the end. So, yeah, got lucky there. Green race helped me pull that off, and everything fell in place.
All right, 4 races left to the end of the season. You could just have a 5-point gap between yourself and Scored Buffalo. Do you think the championship is still in play in your favor? Or do you think that it's still out? Because, again, mathematically it's close. But you've not typically been in this position. Typically, you already have locked up the championship at this stage in the season. This year's a little bit different. Do you think you can handle the pressure of a championship fight to the end of the year?
Anything is possible. I've honestly not had the greatest luck, I feel, in the season. Hopefully this is a shift of luck in my favor, and hopefully can get it done in the end.
All right, well, that's the word from our race winner, Maybe Racing, bringing home a maximum points day today. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
Thank you for the stream.
All right, and now we want to turn our focus to our second place finisher, Prius. Prius, 4 straight podium results for you. This should easily launch you into third in points overall. Still not in championship contention, sadly, but a fantastic midseason run. What do you have to say about your run out there tonight?
Honestly, I wish I would have thought of the same strategy that maybe did as early as they did, because I think had I done that, I would have at least been closer. I don't know if I would have won, but I would have had much better shot at doing so. Um, I don't know if the points include the drop around the 10th season or not, but if so, I'm glad it's maybe that beat me and not Buffalo, because Buffalo drops a 0 anyways, so where that is where we are, but maybe you drop at least 1 score, so I get closer in regards to that. I'm surprised I've been podiuming every single race here. I'm hoping it continues, but I have no clue.
All right, still 4 more races throughout the season, a bunch of road courses and then an oval. Do you think you can steal another win before the season is over as well?
If it's good to be a road course, it's going to be Watkins Glen. That's probably my best shot there. I have the pace at Homestead. We'll see if I have the strategy and the luck there.
All right, well, that's the word from our second place finisher, Prius Killer. Prius, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Good job out there.
Thanks.
All right, and now we turn our focus to Scored Buffalo. Buffalo, can you hear me? All right, make sure your audio is included. This race did not seem to go well for you. Qualifying, you put down a respectable lap. Times disallowed for having the wrong setup on. You started dead last. Made fewer stops than everybody else, but the pace was not there. Still finished a lap down. Still lost a huge chunk of your points lead. Is there anything different you think you could have done tonight?
Yeah. I just didn't really have. I didn't really have enough time to really think about my strategy. So, I just kind of just picked one and sent it. And considering I started last, I think it went decently. It went decently well, but obviously there could have been some changes to it. Because I think I changed what I was going to do, like I think like halfway through, or the first quarter. But yeah, it could have been better. But I'm not too upset about it. And plus, this is my first race on a wheel, so I didn't want to go too crazy with it.
All right, 4 races left in the season. Your advantage in the championship has shrunk down to 5 points over Maybe. You're not usually in these championship fights near the end of the season. That's not to say it never happens, but we don't really see you in a championship brawl near the end of these seasons. Typically, you're completely out of it, or you've already locked it up. Do you think you can handle the pressure of a championship fight in this final stretch?
I'd say so. I mean, I've done it before. I believe I forget which championship, but I've done it before. I can do it again. It really just comes down to really if I can do it. But seeing that I've been in something like this before, uh, I could do it. Also, if my hardware stays reliable, since that took me out in what was it, Road America.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is a word from our third place finisher, Sword Buffalo. Unless you have anything else to say, we'll let you go.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Well, that is the word from our podium finishers tonight. Very interesting. Again, we do want to say good job on Amish for coming home in 4th and Fuzzball for coming home 5th. That will wrap up our broadcast for tonight's event. Thank you for joining us next weekend. We'll be back on Friday with Porsche Cup, Saturday with GT3 Pro, and Sunday with FEC Indycar. Thanks once again, everyone, for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.